Greetings and salutations. Happy New Year. Still early enough. Hey, Josh. I'm Brian Rademacher, and I'm coming to you from Sonoma County, north of San Francisco, in the town of Petaluma, about 35 miles north, again, of San Francisco. And I want to say thank you for taking time out of your afternoon to come join Josh and I for this webinar, the Armchair Travel, which we've been doing a lot of lately. And looking forward to that time, which is coming. There's light at the end of the tunnel when we can get back out there and travel, right? So again, we're very appreciative of you coming out here this afternoon. And I'll give a couple of housekeeping notes before I let Josh say a couple things. One is there's a question box there for you. And the best practice really is just to type in your questions as you think of them, and then I'll address them as we get towards the end of the webinar. So again, question box is there for you, and feel free to ask away. I'll do my best to answer all the questions. And then second,
where it says chat, Brian?
What's that?
Is that the chat box?
That's it. Well, it's the question box. So there's chat, and then there's question. Okay. So probably better, although while I'm actually, Josh, while I'm doing the presentation, I think you have the ability to chat with people if you'd like. Although I'm not 100% sure of that, but it's actually that question box. And then I'm going to be recorded actually. So what's nice is then I'm going to send the recording to Josh later today, and then he'll send it out to you all. And we've got some folks that RSVP'd that were unable to make it, and they'll get the recording. But what we'd like you to do is, if you have family, friends, colleagues, and otherwise, feel free to share the video. All right. So those are the two housekeeping notes. And I'll say, you know what I'll do? I'll quickly say hello to everybody. So hi, artists, Bob. We've got Gene, Jeff, Joe, John, Mark, Michael, and Tina. All right. So thank you all. And we might get a few more as we progress. So
Brian, I think you have a pop. Oh, it just disappeared. There was a pop-up of all your calendar reminders on the screen.
You know what? I'm gonna. What's been happening? It's very strange. We sent a note, or I sent a note in today saying that we're getting GoToWebinar reminders on our screen. So hopefully that will not happen again. But thank you for letting me know. Yeah, there's at the headquarters some sort of GoToWebinar glitch of some sort, but hopefully we'll get through our webinar today. And the working title is Why Us? Why AmaWaterways? Quote, the perfect choice to return back to travel. And again, thank you to Josh. And there's Josh with his contact info. Hopefully you all have there, but his phone number and his email address, josh@joshfriedmantravel.com. But again, hopefully you all have that, but I do have that there for you. And that suit I have, I think the last time I wore that suit's been over a year ago. I'm not dressing in suits so much these days, but I am as what's called the business development manager for Northern California, and I work with travel advisors like Josh, because actually about 97% of our business comes through the traditional travel agency channel, since we don't do a lot of advertising, almost none. So this is the thank you in many different languages here for you. And then I also, believe it or not, I have a little video I'm going to share with you. So bear with me as I show this. We created our own, believe it or not, music video. So we did this last month. So I'm going to play it for you now. And it gives you a little bit of a taste as well of who we are, what we're all about. Let's see. Bring it up again. There we go. Okay.
Our mission is to personally connect with our guests and make a positive impact on the world, so that every mile of the river cruise experience becomes one of their most cherished memories.
Let there be light, let it shine, love conquers all. Hey. All for one.
All right. So hopefully that was enjoyable. And it said, why we wait to return to the rivers. So indeed, we'll all be standing by here. We, of course, were not able to cruise. Well, I shouldn't say that. I'm going to be able to tell you that we were able to cruise a little bit last year, which I'm going to talk about here momentarily. But no word yet this year. But we're very hopeful of being back on the rivers. Our bookings that are coming in now are primarily for like June, July, and on, certainly, and we're booking 2022 quite a bit. We're actually already 25% booked for next year for 2022. So that's a piece of good news as well. We always like to show this particular image for a few reasons. One, it is absolutely true, the statement there, that oceans take you to the countries, but rivers take you through them. Very evocative picture you see there. And pre-COVID, pre-pandemic, river cruising was one of the hottest things in travel, right? Just absolutely very much in vogue, very popular. Many ocean-going folks trying river cruising, coming to see what it was all about. And we think post-COVID that many of the attractions or the salient features, if you will, of river cruising will be even more attractive as we navigate in the world post-vaccine or post-COVID, et cetera. And so we'll talk a little bit more about that as well. But the towns and the villages and the cities that you visit, you know what, they grew up from the river, right? So whenever we pull into a given place, you're always in the heart of the destination because, again, these towns, villages, and cities emanated from these places, right? And established commerce and trade, et cetera, amongst themselves along the river. So really, rivers like this, the Rhine or the Danube or others, were the roads of old. And to this day, they still are that way. They still are roads, but you see them certainly more populated with river ships like ours. So it's just an absolutely wonderful way to cruise. I came from the ocean side of things. I worked for Crystal Cruises for 9 years when Crystal first came out, worked for another ocean going company. But for the last several years, I've been representing river cruising, and it is really quite wonderful. This is our world where we go. As you see, 14 rivers and waterways, 23 countries, and 33 itineraries. So we're primarily in Europe, quite frankly. That's where mostly we have our vessels. However, we have a ship starting in Egypt later this year, a new ship on the Nile River. We'll talk more about that. We have a ship down here in Southeast Asia, Vietnam, and Cambodia on the Mekong River. And then we have a ship here in Southern Africa, actually between Namibia and Botswana, on the Chobe River, the Zambezi Queen, and that ship only carries 28 guests. The Amadalia is only carrying 68 guests in Egypt. And so this, as I say, is our world. And what opened river cruising to North Americans was the opening of the Rhine-Main-Danube Canal. This is here in this section. When that opened on a ship up here in Amsterdam and not disembark the ship until you reached here in the Black Sea, literally almost 2,200 miles later, right? That opened in 1992, and that really did open it up for river cruising to begin, quite frankly. And so we do have, I think it's about 25, 24 ships. We didn't have any new ships come out this last year in 2020. We had 3 in 2019. We have 3 more ships coming this year. So young, modern, and innovative fleet for sure, no question about that. And so the cool thing too, I'll tell you about, is all these ships are paid for. We have 0 debt, which is rather remarkable and a good position to be in. You know what, Josh? I might have you mute yourself, Josh, if possible. There you go. Thank you very much. And then you can come back on towards the end. Josh is getting some work done, as I well know. When we do our Zoom webinars on Monday with sales and marketing, I have myself on camera, but I'm often doing work as well. So no problem there. So that's our fleet. This is one of the appeals of river cruising, as I mentioned earlier, always in the heart of any given town or city. So here in, this happens to be in Passau in Germany, and the Ama Magna docked here, you're always, again, a short walk into the heart of the destination. And that is the way it is with river cruising. So there's no schlepping, no long lines, all that kind of thing. So very nice indeed. So our ownership, our heritage, and we've been around since 2002, is European. Starting with Rudy Schreiner, who, this is the Austrian flag. He's from Vienna, grew up on the Danube River. He loves ship design. He is also the acknowledged godfather of North American river cruising, because I mentioned when that Rhine-Main-Danube Canal opened up in 1992, he was the one that convinced North American companies to start promoting river cruising, right? He got Uniworld up and going. Then he was the first president of Viking. He also had a hand in Avalon. You're never really supposed to mention your competitors, but I do that in the sense that Rudy got those three companies going, and actually, as I said, was the first president of Viking. Well, he didn't own any of those companies, so in 2002, he started us, Ama Waterways. And again, as I say, he's been recognized officially, and certainly everyone in the industry knows that he is truly the river king, if you will, the godfather of North American river cruising. His wife he met at Viking, Christine Karst, and that's the German flag, though she grew up in Dresden and then East Germany on the Elbe River. So he likes to say, I build them, she fills them. She being really the heart and soul of our company, Christine Karst. And then Gary Murphy with the Irish flag. His dad, Jimmy Murphy, was a brilliant travel entrepreneur that started Brendan Tours. Mr. Murphy passed away about 6 years ago. His son, Gary, is our co-owner and our senior VP of sales. And so what I like to say about this group of people, these three people, is they're both passionate about what we do, and they're prudent as well. As I mentioned, all of our ships are paid for in cash. Now, I also said earlier that we actually had a chance to cruise last year in Europe. You might say, how did that happen? That's a very good question. So this is the Ama Christina, and the Ama Christina sailed on the Rhine River starting in early July last summer up through the second week of November. So that's 4.5 months of cruising. And how she did that was through a German tour operator. And the German tour operator had cruises out of Cologne, north of Cologne, and southbound on the Rhine out of Cologne. And so we did 4.5 months of cruising with German-speaking guests from Austria, Switzerland, Germany. We also had Dutch folks on, Belgians as well, some French folks. In any event, many, many good things came about as a result of our having this successful season. You might say, how was it successful? Well, number one, we were the only North American brand cruising in Europe. There were 58 other river ships. They were all European. We were the only North American company cruising on the Rhine this last year. Number two is we had close to 2,000 people cruise with us during that stretch of time, and not a single case of COVID, not one. Now you might say, well, you guys were really lucky. And my response to that is, luck is the residue of design, because we did many things to make sure that there were no COVID cases happening, and indeed none happened. And then the other reason it was successful is the amount that we learned, right, experientially to bring forward, and how much of this we'll be employing when we start cruising again, who's to say, right? We don't know, but all of the things that we did employ, we practiced them. So we were not on the sidelines having to hear about it anecdotally. We were in the game, and it's always better, using sort of the sports metaphor, it's always better to be out on the field and playing rather than hearing from your teammates what it's like to play. So we were in the game, and as I say, that experience absolutely invaluable going forward. Now, if you want to see more in terms of feeling confident in traveling with us, what all we did do while we were cruising, and what, again, we may certainly do going forward, depending on how things evolve, you can go to amawaterways.com/travel-updates. And you can see everything sort of cashed out in writing as far as many of the things, if not all the things that we did do and will be planning to do. Now, you should, as Josh will tell you, always have travel insurance, right? That's a no-brainer. We offer extra programs as well. One's called the Ultimate Cruise Flexibility Program. One is called Travel Waiver Plus. Anyway, the bottom line is these are added elements of giving you peace of mind for example, under Travel Waiver Plus, where you can cancel for any reason whatsoever right up to 24 hours prior to the start of your trip, and any monies you would have been penalized will come back to you in a future cruise credit, good for 2 years. But the bottom line is Josh is well versed certainly in these types of things. So having travel insurance, number one, is important. Number two, you can augment it if you want. Just forewarned is forearmed, and we do have these programs available for you. So I want to make mention of that. Now, I'm not going to read this slide to you. Why us? Why Ama Waterways? But you can peruse the bullet points there. I will mention in the upper left, Berlitz. Now, Douglas Ward has been writing the Berlitz Guide for many years. When I was at Crystal Cruises, he was still writing the Berlitz Guide. And in the last several years, he started writing a guide, not just for ocean-going ships, but also for river ships. He's too famous. It's like the famous restaurant critic. Everybody knows him, and so the best service and meal is provided to the critic. So what he does is he sends out mystery shoppers on all of the ships in Europe, the river ships, and we're very fortunate indeed that Berlitz rates us as the best river cruise ships in Europe. So we're very proud of that. And again, some of these things here are important to mention: the cuisine, the crew, they are both exceptional, absolutely incredible. We'll talk about that. I mentioned the financial stability of all the ships being paid for. That is huge in our current environment as it relates to a company that has zero, and I mean zero debt. That's key, absolutely key. Certainly the Wi-Fi and the computer that we have in your cabin, the Apple computers, that's very popular. The wellness host we'll talk about more. We just won the Green Award for sustainable travel. We're very, very proud of that. So these are all sort of the brand truths, the marketing truths that we bring to the table that you will experience. Now, here are some of the things that, as a result of the pandemic, if you will, are going to be changing as we start up again. And that is exclusive airport transfer. So what do I mean by that? Well, in some instances, in arriving at an airport, you might get onto a motor coach with other guests, that kind of thing. That has gone away. So this whole concept of traveling in pods, that kind of thing, with family members or whatnot, in any event, these exclusive airport transfers are what's going to be occurring as we go forward, and that is something different. As is the augmentation of room service, where there's going to be more opportunities to dine out on your balcony. And we have tons of balcony accommodations on our ships. We're well known for that. So the idea of being out in the fresh air, outdoor dining, et cetera, which a lot of us are familiar with in the current environment, dining at restaurants, not indoors, but outdoors. So we're in that vein as well. And then, of course, we have a whole wide variety of excursions that are included, right? And we are vetting all of our excursions as we go forward for this year and for 2022 and beyond, because we're finding that people want more time, frankly, out of doors, right? So we have a whole wide variety of included excursions, as I mentioned. Yes, some biking, some hiking, et cetera, but a whole, again, variety. And so that's important to mention as well. Plus, there's smaller groups. And the reason they're smaller is, and I like to say, we've been practicing social distancing all along with our shore excursions. Why? Well, because we break up our excursion groups into pace levels, or as it says here, activity levels. So gentle, regular, and active, right? Plus, if you want to get up later in the morning, you can go out later in the day, a late riser tour. So what happens is then the ships complement, and our ships average about 150 guests, break up into smaller groups based on the pace level. So you really never have more than 15 or 20 people on a given excursion. And you see around their necks, here the lady to the left here, these are audio boxes, right? And so the audio box or quiet box, you don't have to be this close to the guide. You can be at a distance and still hear what the tour guide is telling you about through the quiet box technology. So that's kind of nice as well. And again, people are gravitating to our most popular accommodations, which are what are called twin balcony cabins. And the reason they're called twin or double balcony cabins, as you can see, here is a traditional balcony with a table and a couple of chairs here. But then you also have a French balcony here as well, right? So you can enjoy both. The French balcony is just a rail with a sliding glass door here. and again, the traditional balcony here. And these book the earliest. And again, because of people's desire, quite frankly, to have more access to sort of fresh air, if you will, our twin balcony accommodations are, again, incredibly popular. Now, we came out with a new ship in 2019, in May of 2019, called the Ama Magna. This is a double wide ship. Magna in Latin means great. Now, when I say double wide, well, why river cruise ships all look the same is because we all have to fit through the same locks, and these locks are 36 feet wide. However, on the Danube River, there are a set of locks that are 72 feet wide. So this ship, the Ama Magna, there's nothing like her on any river anywhere in the world. She's double the width at 72 feet. However, she only carries 20% more guests at 190 guests. And we have competitors, quite frankly, that are half the width at 36 feet that carry 190 guests as well. But here's a ship that's double the width and only carries 190 guests. So very spacious, very accommodating, 4 different unique dining venues on board on the ship on the Ama Magna. I happened to be on her about a year ago, and she is quite magnificent. So the alfresco restaurant, the chef's table experience there on the right, and on the left, the main dining room and Jimmy's restaurant. And so again, this breaks up the ship's complement into smaller groups in terms of where people dine on board. This is the average category on the Ama Magna, which is a balcony suite at 355 square feet with a full balcony, right? We also have larger suites. I think there are 6 of them that are just under 500 square feet, and we have an owner suite that's over 700 square feet, right? So this ship unique in that regard in terms of the space ratio, the number of guests, and the spacious accommodations on board. There is the Apple computer I mentioned to the right, your TV, your large balcony, etc. So very, very accommodating. There is that grand suite at 474 square feet, very comfortable indeed. We also, for those inclined, we started out with 4 spinning cycles on the aft section of the ship. This was so popular, is so popular, that we now are up to 9 spinning cycles, and we call it spinning with a view because you're looking aft on the ship, seeing where you've been, right? So very popular indeed. We also have a beautiful open air sun deck. And the other nice thing is there is an elevator that goes all the way here from the top of the ship sun deck all the way to the bottom. And that's relatively unusual for river cruise ships to have elevators that go to all the decks, but this ship does have that. And again, many other accoutrements as well. Now, that's the hardware, but what makes Ama Waterways truly special is the extraordinary, as it says there, cruise managers and the staff and crew on board. There are not enough adjectives to describe how fantastic they are. And they also know and like that we work for a family-owned company. We've been family-owned, and we all have bought into that whole family concept, right, from our owners. And quite frankly, the cruise managers, they run the show, right? They're sort of the circus masters on board. And they all come from the local places that you're cruising. So they're all European, and they know whereof they speak. And as I say, they are simply superb. You will love the crew. We do have the bikes on board if you want to. There's 25 bikes on our smaller ships, 50 bikes on the Ama Magna. You can take them out on your own, certainly, or you can go out as part of a guided tour. There's always a guide at the front and a guide at the rear for the fastest and slowest riders. They're sort of what are called modified Dutch flyers with the large circumference tires. Very easy to ride, very easy to shift gears. So that's very popular as well. So this gentleman is part of our wellness activities, again, in keeping with the fact that a lot of people, and it's not like you're necessarily going to go do something every day, but every day we do have a whole wide variety of wellness activities. And we have certified wellness instructors on our ships. Now, this gentleman is not a wellness instructor during the day and then in the dining room at night waiting tables as a waiter. He is strictly, or she for that matter, because we have both, are strictly there for wellness activities. And again, it runs the gamut from Tai Chi to yoga to core strengthening to stretching classes, you name it. Again, a whole wonderful variety of different wellness activities. Now, before we get into the culinary experience, I'm going to show you a little video about our dining. So let's do that. So in a word, the dining is simply superb. And we do have health conscious choices on board for you. As a matter of fact, all various dietary restrictions, just let Josh know. We will look after you very well indeed. Any special requests, just visit with the executive chef on board. We're always happy to accommodate those. So the food on board is magnificent. Now, I want to tell you that we do a number of different cruises throughout the year that are called Celebration of Wine cruises, where we have guest winemakers come aboard. They typically bring along some of their wine club members, but they're the guest winemaker for the whole ship, right? Where you do 3 tastings, there's a paired winemaker dinner. These are very, very popular cruises that we do. They actually score the highest in terms of guest satisfaction levels of all the cruises that we do are our guest winemaker cruises. Now, the reason I'm talking about that is because I'll give you an example. Rombauer up in the Napa Valley, about as an iconic winery in the Napa Valley as you can come by. Rombauer, very, very famous. Well, they cruise with us. As a matter of fact, they're chartering one of our ships in the latter part of 2022. And I can tell you, the Rombauer winemaker who comes along, obviously they have their Rombauer wines on board, etc. But these people that come from particularly the wine club at Rombauer, the food better match the wine, right? So it's not as if we have guest winemakers and the wine is great, but the food is so-so. No, the food is of the caliber that it certainly matches what people experience on any of our cruises. And certainly as the guest winemakers come on board, you get to enjoy the paired wines and tastings and all of that. Now, this little logo up here is Chien de Retisseur, which is French for the goose cookers, which started in 1248, actually. And this is a culinary organization that was reconstituted in 1950 by 3 very famous French chefs. The bottom line is that in order to be invited to be members of Chien de Retisseur, your culinary experience has to be at the pinnacle. And it's not only the food and the wine, but it is the wine, and it also is the service as well, right? So one thing I wanted to mention, as a result of COVID, what you're going to see is you don't see the word buffet anywhere here on this image. So buffets on our ships are going away, and instead we're going to have cooking stations where food is prepared a la minute for you, specialty foods, right? Yes.
Brian, excuse me for interrupting. I just got a text from an attendee who said they can't see the presentation. We can just see your lovely face.
Okay, let me, no one, oh my gosh. There we go. How's that? I'm so sorry. Thank you. Let me back up to that particular image because that was the last one before the video. So sorry about that. So very health conscious, as I mentioned. So you heard me talking about that. That is the picture that goes along with it. By the way, to the right is the chef's table, and everyone is going to get to dine in the chef's table, which is a tasting menu, small tasting menu with paired wine. And again, everyone gets to have that experience. There's no additional charge. It's really quite a wonderful experience as they prepare the food there for you in that chef's table experience, right? So what I was talking about here is you don't see the word buffet. And thanks, Josh, for the heads up on that. I just got my driver's license on showing videos, so sorry about that. But buffets, yes, are going the route of no more. However, I always like to talk about this word fresh. So we like to say that we have freezers on board, which indeed we do, strictly for ice cream. Everything else is fresh and locally sourced. Fresh fruits and vegetables, fresh fish, everything absolutely is indeed fresh. And so that's quite nice as it relates to your experience. Plus, we do serve the local wines every day at lunch and dinner. There's different wines that are poured, red and white varietals. At dinner, at night, if you like last night's red wine, just say, you prefer that over tonight's, that kind of thing. I already mentioned the dietary needs. Then there's always available choices as well. If you just have to have a margarita pizza or a cheeseburger, what have you, that's all available to you. And then the way the alcohol works is that we do mimosas in the morning. Then we have the unlimited fine wines and beers at lunch and at dinner. And then every night we have a cocktail hour, 1 hour before dinner, right, with cocktails on us. Now, what happens on river ships is we want people, when the ships are in port at night, which they often are, to go into town and to have a culturally immersive experience with the local people. And of course, the towns are different at night than they are during the day. And so well over half of our guests get off the ship and go into town. So because we encourage that, so if you're at the bar at 10 o'clock at night and you order a martini, that will be an out-of-pocket expense. Now, we do not gouge in that regard. It might be 4, 5, 6 euros, but we do want you off the ship. So when you're at a particular place, wherever it might be in Vienna or anywhere else in Cologne, you don't have to feel as if you're subsidizing the drinkers back on the ship. So that's our happy medium, and it works quite well for us because, again, we do encourage people to get off the ship in the evening and go experience the local culture. I mentioned the Wi-Fi, which we actually spend more on Wi-Fi than we do fuel. You heard me right, more on the Wi-Fi than fuel, and we have the best Wi-Fi of any river cruise line, quite frankly. Again, we don't do any advertising, very little, so we invest in the product on board. And we have our own app, the My Ama Cruise app, and you can download that app before you go. You see people using the app, and it's got many different wonderful tools, maps, the daily guide. You can send postcards. It's really quite special, so that's available for you as well. And then a lot of our guests take advantage of our pre or post programs, land programs, pre and or post. And these are always at 4- and 5-star properties, right? And then the cool thing is that you have the hotel, or I should say the cruise manager is with you at the hotel property. So it's like your own private concierge. And that's really nice because they're going to be with you on the cruise, obviously. But if you're doing pre and or post, they'll also be with you at the hotel, worth mentioning. Now, most first-time river cruisers gravitate towards the Danube and the Rhine, right? Those are the most iconic rivers, and certainly in North Americans' minds, without question. So we have over 20 different unique itineraries on these two rivers, right? The Rhine and the Danube. There are some people that combine both, right? That will do a Rhine cruise and then connect through that Rhine-Main-Danube canal onto the Rhine River. And so you actually can put 2 and 2 together and turn it into a 14-night cruise. So anyway, the bottom line is, with these being the most popular amongst first-time river cruisers, we have plenty of different itineraries for you. Now, this is the ship. This is an artist rendering, of course. This ship is our newest ship that's coming for exotics, which is in Egypt on the Nile, the Ama, only carrying 68 guests. And this, quite frankly, ladies and gentlemen, is our hottest booking product. Amongst our past guests who want to try a new ship, but also people that are interested in going to Egypt. So this is selling extremely well. I'll just quickly run through some of the, again, these are artist renderings of the ship. Again, only 68 guests. So this ship fills more quickly, as you would imagine. And we have departures open through the end of 2022, right? So this year and then all the way through the end of 2022. We're not cruising on the Nile during the summer months for obvious reasons. But the books, as I say, are indeed open now. This itinerary is called Secrets of Egypt and the Nile, and it offers stays at the Four Seasons Hotel in Cairo, right? Pre-cruise and then 1-night post-cruise. And then we have a whole variety of different land-added options in Jordan, in Israel, and in Dubai that combine with your cruise on the Nile. The Ama Christina, the ship that cruised this last summer in Europe on the Rhine, is actually moving to France on the Colors of Provence itinerary, very popular between Lyon and Avignon, or Avignon and Lyon. So she's a twin balcony ship that will be in France. And then we have 2 new other French itineraries starting this year, Impressions of the Seine in Paris and Essence of Burgundy and Provence. We've always done Provence, but now we incorporate Burgundy as well. So you can do both Burgundy and Provence. Impressions of the Seine in Paris is also, as I say, a new itinerary. It's one-way east and westbound between Paris and Le Havre, and you are able to spend time 3 nights pre or post in Saint-Malo, right? In Brittany, that part of France that is quite unique. So make mention of that. And then we have 2 ships, the Ama Verde and the Ama Bella, that had been under charter to an Australian tour operator. Well, these ships are coming back to our fleet, and right now they're, as you can see, re-envisioned. They are going through a complete makeover, and so they're actually going to be the ships that are going to be sort of the what do I want to say? The ships that our other ships are going to emulate as we refurbish them going forward. These two ships, Ama Verde and Ama Bella, are going to have all the newest and greatest things like no buffets, the cooking stations, that kind of thing as well. So that's worth mentioning. Now, let's talk about some of the incentives, if you will. Now, Josh, he is a member through his organization, Virtuoso. You may have heard him speak about Virtuoso. This is a consortium of agencies and advisors that is the finest in the world. It is truly fantastic. So we, Ama Waterways, work very closely with Virtuoso. So you have added benefits, guest amenities, whether it be ship credit or additional excursions, that kind of thing. So the bottom line is, with Josh being a member of Virtuoso, you're going to get added perks and amenities, which is always a good thing. If you are former military, you also can save an additional 100 per person, right? So that's combinable with any of the deals that are out there. So just let Josh know. And again, a military savings of an extra 100 per person. Now, for attending the webinar today, we have what are called our virtual event specials. And what these are 2 for 1, right? So here it is. This is buy one, get one. And this is for Impressions of the Seine and Paris, that new itinerary we're starting this year. That's Paris to Le Havre, Le Havre back to Paris. Again, pre and post cruise opportunities as well. This one is on August 12th through the 19th, right? Coming up in about 7 months, is that right? Thereabouts. And this has to be reserved by the 31st of January through Josh. And it's applicable to categories A, B, and C. And it's right off the brochure rate, 2 for 1. Right? So that is available to you, right? So I want to make a mention of that, and it's just for webinar attendees. We only do these 2 for 1 offers on these armchair travel events, if you will. So that's available. Now, the other thing here is you book anything with Josh, any cruise this year or next, again through the end of January, and you receive an additional 100 per person savings. Now, this doesn't combine with the 2 for 1, to be candid. That 2 for 1 stands in and of itself. Now, you might say, well, what does a booking mean? How do we make a reservation? It's a $400 per person deposit, and then final payment is at 90 days prior. Again, $400 per person deposit, final payment at 90 days prior. There's a very famous competitor of ours. You probably get things in your mail from them. Their final payments are about a year out, right? So we're very different in that regard. We don't ask for your money a year out. We ask for it at 3 months prior. This, ladies and gentlemen, is our most popular tactical offer in the marketplace right now. We introduced this last month, and it is booking like crazy. And here's what it is. We're giving away complimentary pre or post land packages before or after your cruise, right? And so these are the 3 itineraries, and there are actually a few more, but these are the ones we're focused on, which is Bordeaux, where we give you 4 nights in Spain's Basque Country, 2 nights in Bilbao, and 2 nights in San Sebastian, right? Gems of Southeast Europe is the lower Danube between Budapest in Hungary and Bucharest in Romania. Very interesting, unique, different itinerary on the lower Danube. This offers 4 nights in Transylvania, yes, Dracula country. So 2 nights in Brasov, and I believe 2 nights in Bucharest, right? And that's actually doing very, very well. The other one that's doing really well, they're all doing well for that matter, but on Rhine Castles and Swiss Alps, a 3-night stay at the beautiful Hilton Hotel right on Lake Como, right? So there are a number of departures this year. There are a number of departures next year in 2022. And this program is coming to an end in a few weeks, January 31st, but it has done unbelievably well because people see the value of reserving something with us to then take advantage of getting the complimentary pre or post program, right? So this promo code is more for Josh. It's just called Free Land, which is a pretty easy promo code to remember. But in any event, that is in place now. And as I say, is our most successful promotion. For our solo travelers out there, and there might be some of you who are solo travelers. Well, first of all, we're very welcoming to solo travelers. We do many, many things on board to welcome our solo travelers. But part of the reason we get a lot of solo travelers is we do solo traveler specials. So in this instance, right now, and this is through February 28, we have a 25% single supplement, not 50, not 75, not 200, but only a 25% surcharge to occupy a double occupancy cabin, right? And so that is out in place right now. Promo code solo-25. Again, more for Josh's sake, but that is something to be aware of for you as a solo traveler or any friends you might know that are solo travelers as well. Another special, I know there's quite a few. This is the last one I'll show you. So what's happening in the marketplace is this. Because we've all been hunkered down for so long, people, when they're going to their advisors, they're saying, you know what, I don't want to go just for a 7-night river cruise. What are available back-to-back river cruises so we can do a combination? So what we're doing is applying a 10% savings on the second departure. So we thought, gosh, so many people are asking about back-to-back. We thought we'd augment it. And this is, again, for booking by March 31, and it's cruises this year and next year. And here's what we've done. We've created this tool so that when Josh calls into our office for y'all, there is this tool that he gives the applicable sort of time frame and dates that you're interested in. The computer, the program, somebody at the company developed it, will go in and find you all the various options to combine a back-to-back cruise. So that's a really cool tool that we have now available. And of course, the 10% additional savings. So that's a trend that we're seeing. And so I wanted to make mention of that. Now, keep in mind, we're in Vietnam and Cambodia on the Mekong, 2 different programs that incorporate stays in north in Hanoi and the south in Ho Chi Minh City, but also here in Siem Reap for Angkor Wat. And so we have a 2-for-1 land program. Most people don't go just for a 7-night cruise. Most people go and incorporate the land programs either on Charms of the Mekong or Riches of the Mekong. Bottom line is there is a 2-for-1 land program that's available right now when you add the land options along with the 7-night cruise. There is that Zambezi Queen. We don't offer a lot of specials on her because she fills up very quickly. A very unique, exotic African safari / river cruise on the Chobe River, which is again between Namibia and Botswana. It flows into the Zambezi River actually, and so this ship fills up very, very quickly. And again, very unique experience. A couple of years ago, we had Jack Hanna of Jack Hanna's Wildlife Adventures. He came with his family, extended family, and what he was talking about is where there's water, there are animals. So you do get to experience things like this, the elephants and the rhinos, etc. So this is an incredible experience. There are then 6 different land programs that combine with this cruise on the Chobe River. So you have a choice of, again, 6 different land programs. Really unique, very, very popular. So you heard in the little music video, Ama comes from the Latin word amare, which means to love. So we say we love what we do, we love our guests, we love our travel advisors. So it's a love fest all the way around. And so with that, indeed, the story continues. The rivers are flowing. We just have to reach the point where we get invited back, which we know is coming. We're not sure when exactly. As I said earlier, 2022, we're already booking at 25% booked. We do expect to be back on the rivers later this year. Again, we haven't word as to exactly when that's going to be, but we expect to be, again, back before the year is out. All right. So, Josh, you want to bring yourself back up on camera if you'd like, and then we can look to answer some questions. Okay.
Hello, everybody.
All right.
I'm enjoying my Palm Springs life, or my friend's place. Ours is under renovation today, so I had to go down the block.
All right.
Anyway, do we have any questions? Because I can't see them from where I am.
Yeah. So Mark Fisher asked, excursions during the cruise, are they included? Yes, Mark, they are included. 95%. Now, for example, in Vienna, Austria, when you spend the night in Vienna during the cruise on the Danube, then there is one excursion where you go to a Strauss and Mozart concert at a Viennese concert hall. That one is not included because not everybody wants to do that, quite frankly. So that's an additional cost. So, or what's called an optional. But I would say, yes, 95% of the excursions are included. They're just a slight number of ones like the example I just gave you that might cost additional out of pocket. But that's the nice thing is river cruising. Part of the popularity of river cruising is, again, this all-inclusive nature or more inclusive nature, if you will. how do meal rotations work? Dinner alone or with new folks each time? So used to the larger cruises. So, so when we go forward, because here's what happened this past summer on the Ama Christina. Normally, it's open seating. You dine with whomever you'd like, whenever you'd like. Normally, now on the Ama Christina last summer, we had people dining together at a fixed time due to the restrictions as it relates to moving around, mixing, that kind of thing. Now, when we start up again, will that be the rule or not? We don't know, but the normal is open seating and dine with whomever you'd like, whenever you would like. So I would say, hopefully, we go back to that, but we don't know, quite frankly. We're not sure if that's going to be the case. And so we're going to be subject to the edicts, frankly, of the places that we're cruising, which is another thing about river cruising that we think, as far as rebounding, is going to help river cruising. You're always within a given country's boundaries, right? So there's not this notion of being potentially stuck out at sea and not able to get into port if you have an outbreak of COVID on board. We are always in a given country's boundaries, right? We're always a stone's throw away. So we like to say we have sea days, SEE, versus sea days, SEA days. So another advantage to a degree, certainly, for river cruising. Let's see, Tina asked, what time of the year are the Mekong river cruises, including Angkor Wat? So again, Tina, thank you. We're there except in the summer months. So we're there every other time of year, but we're not there in the middle of summer for obvious reasons. So we always offer Angkor Wat. And Tina, we offer the Sofitel Hotel. So all of our properties that we offer on that Mekong program are Sofitel in Hanoi, also in Ho Chi Minh City, and then the beautiful Sofitel property in Siem Reap, which is literally a stone's throw from entering the main entrance to Angkor Wat. And so, yes, we now have this 2-for-1 on the land programs in place for the Mekong and for Vietnam. And again, that is a very unique itinerary. To be candid, Christine Karst, who's one of our owners, the blonde lady from Dresden, East Germany, now Germany, her favorite itinerary is the Mekong. She said it's life-changing, the people, the culture, the food, the experience, all of it. And of course, Siem Reap for Angkor Wat, that's her favorite itinerary is the Mekong. So we're there except for the summer. Same with Egypt. We're there except during the summer. How about, let's see, excursions, any on the Douro River? John asked about the Douro. So John, yes, the Douro and Portugal and Spain are very, very much in vogue, right? And so we added a second ship. So we now have 2 ships on the Douro, the Ama Vida and the Ama Douro. And these ships only carry 102 guests, 51 cabins, whereas our other European ships are more in the 150 range. So they're a third smaller, 1/3 smaller, so they fill more quickly. So yes, we offer 2 different itineraries on the Douro. One is a Porto round trip. The other is Porto over to Vega Terron and east and westbound. And then there are pre and post cruise opportunities in Madrid, Spain, and in Lisbon, right? And so, yes, those 2 itineraries are, I would say, almost as hot as Egypt. People are discovering the Douro River Valley. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Area. It's a very much of a scenic experience. The topography of the experience on the Douro, some people say, is the most compelling river in all of Europe, is the Douro. It doesn't necessarily get as much publicity as the Rhine and the Danube, but it is definitely worth investigating. And for that product, because the ships are smaller, it does then mean that you have to book earlier because they fill more quickly with only 102 guests. And of course, the wine experience, the Portuguese folks, they think they have pretty good wine to compete with the Spaniards and the French and the Italians, etc. All right, let's see, other questions. Now would be the time to post those questions before we sign off. And I know, there were a lot of deals that I threw out there at you, but Josh is the man as it relates to being able to kind of coalesce all of those out there for you. The key best deal that we're selling like crazy are those comped hotel nights, because that is a tremendous value. If you go and if you looked at our website and you see the pricing on the hotel, you'd see, yes, in many cases it's $3,000 for 2 people for those hotel programs. So this one has worked rather well. But again, a variety of deals to take advantage of. The other thing I'll address is people ask, well, what is going to be, the COVID protocol? And the short answer is we have to see, right? So I've done some webinars. I was telling Josh earlier today, I've done some webinars this year where in this question box, people say, are you going to require us to have vaccinations, for example? So our answer is that likely before you even get to the ship, either the airline or the country we were cruising in, they may have requirements, right? So we're not at this point announcing that, yes, you have to have the vaccination to get on our ship. But the analogy that we've been using, and this comes from our owners, is in some instances going to, say, third world or majority world countries, you have to get say a yellow fever shot to visit that country, right? So it's kind of, we think, going to be maybe akin to that going forward. But again, we don't know. But the good thing about operating all last summer or July through into early or mid-November is we learned a ton, right? And so that was a good experience for us, plus with no COVID cases, which again, happy about that. But all the things that we learn, we can employ as we go forward. Let's see, when will you cancel? John's asking, when will you cancel 2021 cruises booking that can't occur because of COVID? So here's, John, what we did last year is this. We typically canceled at 60 days to 45 days prior. It was kind of a rolling thing that we did, and we kept announcing as the dominoes kept falling through the year. That's how we did it, right? And every company sort of has their own methodology as to how they're going. Like certain ocean-going companies, they've already pulled the plug through May, right? So then the questions come to us. What about you guys? Well, the methodology, I'm assuming we're going to do the same, which is at about 60 days to 45 days prior, we'll then make the decision. And this is why having, number one, the travel insurance, and number two, any augmented program on top of that makes a lot of sense. There are people that are having to final pay right now for the spring. So some of those people are waiting to see if we cancel, which we may, and some of the people are just deciding to move to this fall or move into 2022. And that's probably part of the reason why we're 25% booked for 2022. So that's how we methodology we use in how we do our cancellations, right? Or suspensions. We used the word suspended last year because we weren't sure we were going to cancel the whole season, so we just called them suspensions. All right. So, Josh, anything you would like to add?
No, I mean, thanks a lot. I have 2 quick things. One, regarding the short excursions, I believe that the company offers 2 to 3 per port, and they're also at different levels. So if you have difficulty walking, you do an easy one. If you're more active, then you do a more active one. So also, I've had great feedback. The reason, again, I think I told you in my email and my postings, why I wanted to go with Ama for this is that I've always had really great feedback from Ama, from various clients. And I've been riding a long time also.
So, thank you.
Also, and Ama's headquarters is only a couple miles from where I grew up in Woodland Hills in the San Fernando Valley. So
I grew up in Woodland Hills too. Josh and I went to rival high schools.
Yes, that's a problem. But other than that, he's a good guy.
Thank you. Josh went to El Camino and I went to Taft, so rival high schools in Woodland Hills. And what Josh was mentioning is true. The excursions, there are some places we offer up to 6 excursions during the day. So a typical day might be that you get up in the morning, you go out on an excursion, you come back to the ship to have the wonderful lunch because the food's so good, and then you head out again in the afternoon on another excursion. Or sometimes people go out on a morning excursion, maybe have lunch in town and stay in town. But the point is that, yeah, there's a whole host of included excursions, and that is.
When do you sign up for them? Like the day before, or?
So typically what people do is you'll have information on the excursions before you go. There's some information certainly that's available online, but things change, we tweak things. But in any event, what people do is they go and they listen every night. The cruise manager gives a talk on what's upcoming. So you might have in your mind, I think I'm going to want to do that, but then you listen to the cruise manager and say, no, I think I'm going to do that, right? So, and the cool thing is we're very, very flexible as well. There are some that you can pre-book before you even go. You can do that once you final paid and once you've filled out your what's called PIF, your personal information form. Once we have that, there's some, as I said, that you can pre-reserve in advance. And even then, if you change your mind, you get on and say, gosh, I know I pre-reserved this, but I'd rather do that. We're very easy that way. I will tell you a quick story about short cruising. I was in Heidelberg, Germany, up at the castle, beautiful castle overlooking Heidelberg and the river there, the Neckar River. And the tour guide, a guy named Klaus, he knew that I worked for Ama, or he didn't know, I'm sorry, that I worked for Ama. And when he did, he said, well, I have to tell you a little story. I do shore excursions as a tour guide for all the major river cruise companies. And I have to say, Ama Waterways does it the best. And I said, well, that's interesting. You have to tell me why. And he gave me the reasons. He said, one, you're the most flexible. So that we usually get a count of people 3 days out, 2 days out, the day prior, but you always allow people to change very much close in. So again, the most flexible when it comes to the number of people. So we get changes right up until people are showing up here in Heidelberg. And so that is the most flexible of all the river cruise lines. I'm forgetting one, but the key one, he said to me, he said, look down at Heidelberg. I said, yes, when are we going into Heidelberg? Because we've been on this castle tour. He said, this is what makes Ama Waterways the best. I work for 2 other river cruise companies that give you 30 minutes in Heidelberg. Ama gives you almost 2 hours. And I said, well, I know, but that means we could have spent another 2 hours here at the castle. He said, do you want to spend another 2 hours at the castle? I said, no, I want to go down into Heidelberg. He said, that's why Ama's, you get free time in Heidelberg. You got a nice castle tour, but now go spend the time and experience the local culture. And I have to remember the third thing, but I can't remember it for now.
Well, on that subject, just the other thing I really like about Ama is that you're a small company. And
Yeah.
Versus other ones, which are part of huge companies, which are not flexible at all from my perspective. I mean, I realize it's all about the customer experience, but got to keep me happy too.
That's right.
Keep me happy, it makes my clients happy. So your company is really good about stuff like that. And your calendar.
A counterpoint to that, go ahead.
Your calendar popped up again.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Your reminders.
That's not good.
Exit out. Not really, no.
Unbelievable. I'm going to tell them it's popping up on webinars. I was going to tell you real quickly, the third thing is how we break the groups into smaller complements, right? A pace level that we're much, much smaller. So that's good. Part of being in a small family-owned company, now people were concerned when it came to say asking to do a future cruise credit when we were pulling the plug on cruises or to get their money back, because they thought, well, how do we know you're going to be around in 2 years? So we had to come out with our financial data, because I had no idea how financially stable we were. But the fact is that we pay as we go. So we have zero debt, no debt. All of our ships are paid for, including the 3 new ships coming this year, 2 in Europe and 1 in Egypt. They're all paid for. The refurbishment of the Ama Verde and the Ama Bella, it's all paid for. So Rudy and Christine are conservative. They're kind of old European sort of values in the sense of pay as you go. So that's a good thing, really, really good thing. All right. So I'm sorry for the little pop-ups. I'm going to have to write to the IT people, tell them that they're popping up during the webinars. That's not good. So with that, since we're right at about an hour, I want to say thanks to Josh, and I want to say thank you to all of you folks for coming out this afternoon to attend. I'll send Josh the video here later this afternoon. He's going to share that with you and the folks who couldn't make it. Please feel free to share that. And then, you know what? I want to wish you, again, a happy new year. I also want to wish you good health. And then we know we're going to be back out in this beautiful world that we're all itching to get back out and see. And so thank you for, again, thinking about Ama Waterways, and of course, using Josh as your par excellence travel advisor, certainly which he is.
We like that. And I'll send up, you're going to send me everybody's name, right, Brian, that's here, then I'll follow up with everybody on the call.
Sounds good. All right, thanks everybody. All right, bye Josh, bye everybody.
Bye Brian, thank you much.
You bet, bye-bye.